What is up, all? Welcome back to Mindset Bites. This is episode 12. I'm your host, Christina Rogers. I am a licensed therapist. I work with LGBTQ plus individuals, and I also work with entrepreneurs like me. And guess what? A lot of the stuff I talk about is shit that I struggle with. So I'm just learning a lot about it and how to apply it to my life. And I want to share it with you guys as much as I possibly can. So thank you for being here. This week, I talked a lot about mindset around relationships, and we're going to end the week the same exact way we started. We're going to be talking about emotional intelligence in our relationships and actually how to build emotional intelligence in our relationships. I think we look at emotional intelligence a lot as a entrepreneurial thing or a work thing or a business thing. And I think it can be applied to our relationships. So I want to talk to you about the 4 components of emotional intelligence. It's also referred to as EQ. So the way that you build EQ, number 1 is self-awareness. Are you self-aware of what's going on for you? What emotions you're feeling? What feelings you're feeling? What are your triggers? What's your attachment style? How does that show up for you in your interactions with other people? Number 2, self-regulation. Can you regulate yourself when you are dysregulated? Do you know how to experience anxiety and what it is that you need to help yourself with that? When you are depressed, when you are feeling guilty, do you know how to regulate yourself in those moments? When you are feeling angry or triggered, do you know how to self-regulate? That is number 2. Number 3 is social awareness, which I think is something that we struggle with a little bit because we're almost like too in tune with what's going on for other people emotionally that we actually neglect ourselves. So it's really important to have that social awareness of being able to hold space for our partner, being able to acknowledge what it is that they're feeling, but not take it on and make it ours or make it our problem or try to fix it, right? And then number 4 is relationship management. When we are in relationships with other people, we need to know how to deal with conflict. We need to know how to effectively communicate. We need to know what our goals and missions are within our relationships. And I did an episode earlier this week on effective communication in conflict, which is something I so desperately struggle with because I am so avoidant when it comes to conflict. But if you haven't, go back and listen to that episode. It's actually really helpful, and it's stuff that I've learned over time and has been really useful for me in my relationships and trying to have harder conversations and be able to not just withdraw and avoid in discomfort when there's any kind of conflict. So one thing that I want you to just do this week is start to identify what your emotional triggers are. What are things that you are sensitive about in your relationship, and how do they show up? How are they manifesting themselves in your avoidance, in your anxiousness, in your disorganized attachment, in some of how you're showing up in your current relationships? It doesn't even have to be your romantic partners. It can be at work. It can be with your friends. Start to think about what's been triggering you emotionally in those relationships. Something that I just want to throw out there is this idea that when we are reactive, right? We always talk about like reactive, respond. We want to be more responsive than reactive in our relationships, correct? So I like to tell my clients that if you are reacting to something, it means that you are attuning to the other person in the conflict, in the relationship, right? So we become very reactive when we first attune to the person that we are in conversation with or we are in relationship with. To be able to respond, we have to connect to ourselves first. And that is why the 2 main things, the 2 first components of emotional intelligence are self-awareness and self-regulation. Because we have to connect to ourselves first before we can be socially aware, before we can have relationship management. So if you are reacting to another person, it means that you are tuning to them. And you need to bring the focus back to yourself. How can you anchor yourself back into what's going on for you? When we are reacting to other people, we're also very defensive. So to be emotionally intelligent in our relationships, we have to learn how to attune to ourselves first. What's going on for us? How are we? How can we stay separate from the other person in the relationship while still being present? So if you are reactive, you are attuning to the other person. If you are responding, you are attuned to yourself first. I don't know, that's so helpful for some of my clients for some reason. And just taking a deep breath, and when there is any kind of heightened response or you're in a relationship with somebody else, really starting to anchor yourself into, how am I feeling right now? What's going on for me? And can I hold space for this other person, but not make it mine? So my question that I have for you this week, what is the one area or one component of emotional intelligence that you feel like you can work on to start to improve your relationship right now, right? Like whether it's self-awareness, self-regulation, the social awareness piece, the relationship management piece, what area do you want to work on? And how would that improve your relationship moving forward? Maybe it's relationships, maybe it's people at work, maybe it's your friends, maybe it's your partner, but what's that one area that you kind of struggle with? And how can you focus in on that maybe this week or this month and be a little bit more aware of it moving forward? I love emotional intelligence stuff and relationship stuff. So if you guys really liked this episode and want more around attachment or relationship type work, please let me know in the comments below. I would love to know. And yeah, I hope that this week was useful and valuable for you and helped you create a better mindset around your relationships and how you want to move forward. I hope y'all have a great weekend, and we will do it again next week. I'll see y'all on Monday.